Good morning, scholars. Welcome to a new segment on the supernatural. This will be Werewolves 101. What do you think, Adam? Okay. Also, Iggy's being a little bit of a prima donna, so I'm going to leave him behind the curtain. Kind of like the wizard. Anyway. So, my friend Michael, I've talked about him, and you've seen him in a couple of videos, hopefully, of, us being stupid in the back room at the Walmart we work at. He was asking me, how come they're called werewolves in Twilight and, the series, if they're just shapeshifters? Now, I understood what he meant. I corrected him, because werewolves are shapeshifters since they shift through, their shapes. But what he meant to say, or the term he was thinking of, but the term he used being incorrect, was a skinwalker, which is a Native American legend. I've talked about it in a video or two before, and he had a good point. And I told him how in the book, for some reason, the vampires, specifically, what's his name, Carlisle, had to be the one to tell the Native American tribe what they actually were, which was skinwalkers. Apparently he knew the whole time, and they never asked, so he never told them. And I thought that was really dumb, because they would have never really called themselves werewolves. They would have introduced themselves as skinwalkers who take on the form of wolves. As I mentioned in a prior video, some take the form of bears, mountain lions. I wanted to see one turn into a turtle. There are skinwalkers and other series and folklores. They turn into like jaguars or eagles or dingoes or, all sorts of animals. It'd be really cool to see? Caimans. No one ever talks about caimans. Think like little crocodiles. Anyway, so I thought since I did a couple of videos on vampires, why not go ahead and do one about werewolves for today? And depending on how you look at it, there's three types of werewolves that one could run into, if such things exist. There's what most people think of when they think of werewolves, which is like the wolf man. Stands upright. It's a man with wolf features and, all that stuff. Although, if you guys haven't seen the original Wolfman, I suggest you go watch it. It's a very good movie. Black and white, I understand. Most kids today wouldn't be interested, but you should give it a try. It's really good. There's that one. And the subcategory would be the one where it's pretty much just a man with a wolf head and claws. But yeah, mostly they would look closer to, I don't know, Herculean type of a body. They just are a wolf. Another one is almost the complete opposite. It's a werewolf, or a shapeshifter, I guess, that turns into an actual wolf. There's nothing special about them. They morph directly into the same body type. Know what I mean? So I get that wolves can be pretty big. They can be bigger than my dog Artemis. You've seen him. But they're just a wolf. There's nothing more to it than that. Then you have the ones like from in Twilight where they're gigantic. And there's no real way of knowing which one you'd be going up against. There's no like telltale signs, telling you which would be which, and it worries me that I can't see him. My hat. Anywho, what was I saying? I was discussing how there's no way to tell what kind of wolf you'd be going up against until it already transformed. Now, let's see. Depending on the folklore, there are a bunch of different ways that one can turn into a werewolf, and none of them agree, like, one way to turn into a werewolf makes one type of werewolf. You could have two people, maybe, or I guess have three people turn into a werewolf the same way, and they might turn out completely different. You could have one be the regular wolf, one gigantic, one more of a man in stature. One way is you have to drink water from the footprint of a wolf or any animal that you would want to be turned into. Um, on a night of a certain moon, I forget which one it is. I want to say a waxing crescent, but I don't remember. Another one says that your child has to be like the 13th child of the family, has to be born on a certain night of the year, and that night has to have a certain moon. And that's how you turn into a werewolf. Another one usually involves, not being Christian, not being this religion, not being that religion, and whatnot. Another one, if you're like newly dead body, like say you were out in the woods and you're deceased. If, say, a wolf jumped over you, or a dog jumped over you, or a cat jumped over you, specifically black ones. Not that I'm racist, but I am. It would curse your body to come back as a werewolf. Another one, it involves the improper burial and then the whole animal jumping over you thing. Another one says you've got to make a pact with the devil. Another one says that you've got to make a deal with God, and that werewolves are actually servants of the Lord, out to kill demons and vampires and other supernatural entities. I remember one particular story of, I think he was like a monk or something, and it's been many years since I read the story. But he firmly believed that he and his compatriots were werewolves doing the Lord's work, and that there were more than just them all over the world. So, let me know if you guys can find that, or if you've heard of that before, and I'll be looking around for it. Hopefully I can find it. A good place to go? Here, I'll go ahead and do that for you, or I guess with you, hopefully. If you would, open up your browser pages to tvtropes.org. Go into the tools section, you'll see it, and just type in werewolves. Sorry, I'm a slow typer. Alrighty. And if you would, go over here to Our Werewolves Are Different. Just scroll down a little bit. And you'll see the two types of wolves that I mentioned. If you look to the left, that one's the more mannish Herculean one. And then you've got this one over here on the right that looks more like a lion than it does anything else. But it looks of a similar build to the other one, just on all fours. The subtrope of Our Werebeasts Are Different, dealing with variations of lycanthropy, i.e. werewolves. Lycanthropy refers specifically to were creatures that are of wolf form. As with vampires, the exact parameters of lycanthropy vary, but to meet the definition, a werewolf must be like an anamorph who takes the form of a wolf every month. Okay, the exact details do vary. Yes, I'm glad I read this because I forgot about that. Depending on what story you follow, they either turn every single night, whenever they choose, only on the nights of the full moon, or only on the nights that they were first bitten and turned into a werewolf. So if you were turned into a werewolf on a new moon, nothing to do with the book, that was the first one I thought of, probably because of the book, then you would only turn to a werewolf on that night. Let's see. Yes, here's another good one. Since their body is mostly bestial in nature, their mind reflects this. They become completely savage creatures. You could be dealing with that one. There are some where, where they retain their human intelligence, but they have to fight the urge to be wolf-like, and other ones where they're in complete control of their mental faculties. They're half of the trope, fur versus fang. Now, it mentions on that page... Iggy, really? That both of them actually have fangs, but it only works with the fur thing and alliteration, because the werewolves have fur and not the vampires. Unless, of course, you... Well, no, not really. Let's see. The word werewolf is a compound with the archaic English word weir, meaning an adult male. Etymologically, man was once genderless, and weir meant a male specifically. Compare this to Latin, where vir where we get words like virile and virtue. Hence, the not uncommon lycanthrope should more strictly be a whiff wolf or a woman wolf. That's where wife comes from. Hence, the not uncommon female like. Oh, okay, I read that. Seeing actual use. I'm going to do that, actually. Generally, werewolves are older than feudalism, going back to European Middle Ages and to the ancient Greek myth of a king cursed by Zeus to become one. Werewolves are very popular because of qualities of opposing forces, man versus animal nature. A common mistake is to use the word lycanthropy to describe any case of being able to shift through between human and animal forms. As the root word like specifically means wolf, the proper term for other animal types is therianthropy, or if you would like, werebeast. Let's see. How about some examples of werewolves in literature? Let's see. In Poul Anderson's Magitech Reality in Operation Chaos, okay. The Department 19 series. Frankenstein's... Oh, never mind. Spoilers, I don't want to... Loyal Enemies, I'm not familiar with. The Bartimaeus trilogy, I remember that! You guys should read that if you ever get the chance. The Dresden Files, isn't that a show also? Wolf Breed, that one makes sense. The Graveyard Book. Anita Blake, Vampire Hunter, that's hilarious. Let's see... Wheel of Time. Cycle of the Werewolf by Stephen King. C.S. Lewis's Prince Caspian. Huh. The Mortal Instruments, there are werewolves of the variety where they are forced to change at the full moon, but can change shape at will at other times. They mostly retain their human minds, although the full moon, their minds become less human. They can be hurt by silver, which, while the condition is semi-contagious, with about half of all bites transmitting lycanthropy. Ah, I'm glad I read that. Let's see. Okay, we're actually doing pretty good on time. Ways to deal with werewolves, I suppose. I mean, I could make this a separate video, but why not? Really, Iggy? You had one job. You know he's going to get out, right? Okay, so if you guys are familiar with Supernatural, I know I've mentioned it quite a bit lately, but the shapeshifters, specifically anything that could, the creature that could take on any other shape, I think it had to be a living creature, though, because, you know, it kept transforming into different humans. Humans, I don't know. Really? The silver thing came from them in regards to Supernatural and its universe. The silver, I mentioned in the last video when dealing with vampires. Silver works on pretty much anything and everything supernatural, and not to do with the show. I believe the main reason for this is because it's supposed to be like what I mentioned with fire and, you know, killing everything with fire. It's supposed to be like a physical representation of God's perfection. And that's why, also, another thing, and it was actually mentioned in Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, because of the 30 pieces of silver given to Judas when he betrayed Christ, all evil entities are cursed to be hurt by silver more so than anything else. That's why, you know, so silver bullets are so popular for werewolves. Really, anything would work, and if I remember correctly, because werewolves are classified as a type of undead, they have more in common with today's vampires than they do the zombies that the vampires originally were, but they are still classified as undead. So the actual way to kill a werewolf in most folklore was destroying its brain, which is kind of funny because I just said vampires were closer to zombies. I remember one particular story, a werewolf had to be hanged in order for it to finally be killed. Another one says you have to cut off its head, much like you would the vampire, and you had to follow all the proper steps in order to dispose of the body properly so it wouldn't come back as a vampire, which I mentioned in the last video. Another thing that varies, if you did kill a werewolf, it would revert to human form upon death. And then, you know, you just continue with the proper things. Others say that it wouldn't turn, you know, It really depends on where you go and who you talk to and what you believe. Who knows? Alright. Oh, also, what do you think of my shirt? It's Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm just a little upset that Foxy isn't anywhere on it. That'd have been pretty cool. What do you think, Adam? Adam agrees. Alright, I think that's gonna be enough for today's episode on Werewolves. I have to go ahead and get this uploaded. Well, not really. I have like 2 hours before I need to leave for work. Also, if you guys haven't already, go see the Goosebumps movie. Hopefully, I'll be able to watch it by tomorrow, and we can have some fun discussing that, maybe. And let me know if you guys still want me to be reading Twilight Reimagined. And I'm glad I brought that up. My mom got the audiobook and is listening to that instead of listening to me read it. I have like no support. But until next time, goodbye everybody.